War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we sit together. Sit down, we sit together as well. We just get together and hang out and talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Appreciate you joining us for an impromptu live stream today. Obviously, a very busy. Today is August 26th for those of you watching far off in the future. And the big news that has prompted us to do an impromptu live stream reaction show is the breaking news. It's been on for a few hours now, the news, but here on YouTube, we're talking about it for the first time. Allen Greene, athletic director for Auburn, will be stepping down effective August 31st, I believe is the exact date. So with that being said, there is a lot of opinions, a lot of emotions, a lot of things that people are now wondering with this news. And we're going to try to tackle some of that, just get an initial kind of lay it out on the table, talk about the ifs, ands, buts, what's going on with this particular news. Was this shocking? Did we all see this coming? All of that's on the table. It's just a reaction show. I'll share my opinions and your comments and questions, and we'll obviously react to those as well. I will ask that you always remember that there are people that are closely connected to the Auburn Tigers, even Allen Greene, that do participate and watch in these shows. So keep that in mind in your commentary, regardless of which side of the fence you're on this, because obviously Allen is still part of the Auburn family, even after he resigns, because he's part of our history. So with that being said, I want to remind you of a couple things. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, I'd love for you to do this one favor for me. Smash that like button right now, or the share button, the retweet button, wherever you're watching it. It is a huge help to us to help grow the Auburn family, or the E2C network within the Auburn family. Would love for you to do that. But right now in the chat, if you want to, please do use this as your check-in period. Right now, post where you're watching from, city, state, international, with a War Eagle. Love to know who's here hanging out with me. And I already see some familiar faces hopping into the chat right now. Neil, underrated. Devin, good to see you guys. Some familiar faces already in there. A lot of you were waiting on this. I know. I think that's the hard part about being a content creator now is something big happens. When's he going to put it out? Well, that was the hard part. Even Neil was saying this before he even went live. I had this dilemma. Here's always the dilemma for me. It's in the middle of the workday. It's a Friday too. Are y'all going to show up if I do it in the middle of the day? So I tried to find that sweet spot where most people I thought were getting off, maybe before they're getting to dinner or too far into dinner, and might be able to tune to the show. So that's why it took us a little bit of time to get there. This is probably not the only video that we'll do about the Allen Greene situation. Not in the sense that there's tons of bad stuff to talk about, but I think it'd be good to go take a retrospective look back at his big accomplishments and some candidates. And we'll probably talk about some of those here tonight, but a deeper dive in that stuff. So just be looking for all that stuff on the channel in the future, potentially. But here we are to talk about it now. Saw this coming when they didn't renew his contract. Yeah, that really is a good sign that something is up, or there are not expectations met, or there's not a happy medium between the two parties there. It kind of leads you to think, something might be going down here. What I want to stress for everybody, not everybody follows all this stuff as closely I do personally, as many of you do. So some of these people are getting caught off guard by this, and I understand that. What I would stress is, based off what I know, what I hear, what I'm being told and stuff, this is something that's been a long time coming on both sides, not one or the other, on both sides. That is my assumptions, my speculations based off the information that I have. Michael, good to see you. Thanks for being here. People are crazy. I think the timing was a little unfortunate, but we knew it was coming. Devin, I was thinking about that concept a little bit. If we all knew this was coming, when was a good time to do it? Maybe the summer. But if you really think about it, the summer is a really crucial time in terms of organization for the athletic department. So why not do it as soon as you've got the ball rolling forward for everybody for the year? And then that way those responsibilities can be passed off to an interim, to the next one. I don't know that there is truly a good time for this at all. just frankly, in my eyes. I can make cases either way. I'm wanting to hear his side of the story. Would love to get his story once the dust settles. I would imagine one of the bigger news outlets out there are going to be itching to get that content. One thing that I also will say about this, as is the case with the up and down nature that is being an Auburn fan, media members, and I know technically I fall into that category, love to spark anger, love to spark discontent, love to spark directional emotions at certain parties. Be very mindful of that and be very cognizant that that initial feeling that you have about this story probably isn't the whole story. At least that's how I feel about it. Mike said he saw it. What is really, I'm not sure understand what that comment is about. Been hearing some interesting things about how there were some issues with him and some of the coaches. Who knows if it's true, but for whatever reason, they parted ways. Just got to move on. So I have also heard about the issues with some of the coaches. I don't, it's all rumors, so it doesn't really matter which coaches where. I think Bruce Pearl was probably thrown in there at some point, but the dude signed Bruce Pearl to essentially a lifetime contract. Nobody's going to ever take that away. There's two things in the whole Bruce Pearl saga that we need to be recognizing of, because there's parties that don't like either side of this. We need to thank Jay Jacobs for bringing Bruce Pearl here, and we need to thank Allen Greene for keeping him here. Really. That is the reality of that. She has not entered that. Robert says that the Harsin seat got much hotter. That's a very popular narrative right now. That was almost like part 1B of this news. What does this mean for Harsin? And that's a reality, right? I think it's a reality that we obviously think first, what does it mean for football? Understandable, right? This is Harsin is Allen's guy. He went out against the popular thought process about where you would go to look for and hire in a football candidate, and brought him in, stuck by him through the non-issues that appeared to be, most of the non-issues that they appeared to be. So really the question is, with a guy that was already quote unquote on the hot seat, does this mean, in our kind of reacting to this, does this mean that this makes it even hotter for him? We are blessed with the presence of Miss D Ford from across the pond. If you do not know D Ford, you are not an Auburn fan. That is my statement, and I am sticking to it. She is a lovely, lovely lady, and you should all get to know her. She says on Facebook, I'm less emotionally involved than many of you, but I always understood that he was never a long-term candidate. I'd love him to stay, but it seems to me that he would always move on when he done his job. Did a great job for uniting coaches and getting donations. From what I see, we will miss him. That's a great way to sum it up. Allen Greene did a lot of great things for Auburn. I don't want that to be missed. But what I also don't want to be missed in this either is it's not the end of the world. And it's also, he wasn't a perfect AD either. I don't have specifics in terms of how he wasn't that. Well, I mean, I can, but they're really nitpicky type of stuff. But nobody's a perfect person, so everybody makes mistakes. So this is not like you are losing the best AD in the entire world. I don't think Auburn's probably ever had and ever will have the best AD in the entire world, as most people probably haven't. So again, it follows somewhere in the middle of all that. Unbeaten Lake's kind of where I think you probably should be, says I don't really know what to think. I think there's the popular sentiment about Allen Greene, and I think rightfully so, is that this was a mistake not to make sure he stays here. And I tend to agree with that in terms of, I don't know that it was in Auburn's best interest to have to go through this. It's a very similar thing that I was saying about the Bryan Harsin situation. It has nothing to do with Brian being the right or the wrong candidate for Auburn. The question really was, is this what was best for Auburn, to fire someone to hire for Bryan Harsin? Is this the right time? Was this the right move to not sign him on, continue on with him, if this was going to result in all of this kind of stuff? Who knows? Only time will tell. Underrated. I know that is a fear that this is another way to get towards Coach Harsin, getting him out of there. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that. I'm just speculating here. My assumption is that Allen Greene played all his cards for Coach Harsin this past time around, and those cards have been used up. So him, in my eyes, Coach Harsin's future would never have been determined by Allen Greene being here or not from this point. That's just my assumption. BVK, I'm going to disagree with you completely. The athletic department is not a dumpster fire. There's a lot of media types that want you to think that. There's also a lot of media types that just have a vendetta for some of these things. And it's just so interesting to see some of the vitriol that comes out of the things that they say. Is Auburn in a good state right now, athletic department wise? I think when you look at football, you can probably make a really good case that things aren't all where they should be. And that is a major component of that. But you're forgetting things like baseball, basketball, gymnastics. You're forgetting things like track and field and who they just brought in, how they, even though they just changed coaches, it was for good reason. Somebody was retiring and they brought in an even greater coach. You're forgetting how women's and men's golf has been doing. Men's and women's tennis did this last team. The athletic department was not a dumpster fire. Now, politics wise, which may be what you're getting at, BBK, we can all speculate. We can all talk about that, but nobody knows unless you're actually in on the inside. Everybody's got a friend, everybody's got a source, but nobody knows except the people that are there. Remember, he was supposed to be on till February. He stepped down. Yeah, and I think I'm doing a lot of speculating and a lot of assumptions on my part. My assumptions are he was not guaranteed to be re-signed. So in his eyes, it was a better business decision for him, a career decision, to go ahead and step down after he got everybody ready for the year, so that it's an easier pass off. And that way he could open himself up for more opportunities as they come on throughout the year. Because think about this, there's going to be a lot of football programs that probably make changes again this coaching carousel, and you want to be ready to take those. And I know it's more than just a football program world, but let's be real. Is it really, though? So that being said, I think that this is a decision that he made, which was probably smart for him if there was not a guaranteed future for him. I think he's a really smart guy, and I think he saw the writing on the wall and did the appropriate thing, got his affairs in order, got Auburn's affairs in order, and said, let's go ahead and amicably part ways. Harsin needs a great season now to keep him off the hot seat. Well, there's always going to be people who really want him on the hot seat. More Auburn drama. See, this is what people want you to believe, that I'm not talking about you, Ron, because there's people that are feeding this, that there's more, there's drama everywhere. I don't know that it's unfortunate timing personally. That's just me. I have an optimistic nature. I don't see this as unfortunate timing. I don't think that there is a way or a time that this is a good time. Now, in the middle of the highest of highs ever and across the entire athletic department, sure, someone retiring in that type of format is a great time for that. There's never really a good time for it. There is a sequence of events that seem to continue to roll and happen. Now, if this had happened on top or right after the Harsin situation, like a month after, I might be waving the flag and saying, hey, guys, something's wrong here. Unbeaten Lake, you knew that they were going to bring that into him. There's a vitriol for Coach Harsin out there for reasons that aren't even football. Brody was shocked. I think a lot of people were shocked by the timing and that it came when it did. And I'll be honest with you, today I was shocked. I had the press release roll through my inbox and I said, wow, we're doing that today, huh? There was a lot going on. Let me be real with you guys. We stress here on this channel about being holistic in terms of our Auburn fandom. And we do that by covering a lot of other Auburn sports and a lot of other Auburn topics. So I had planned to be at the Auburn volleyball match against Georgia State in Atlanta tonight. That ain't happening now. Too much going on. I can't risk being there stuck there. So here we are. It was a little bit of a shock that it happened today on a Friday, right after you got a commitment. War Eagle to Bill Petty. from Madison, Alabama. Thanks for checking in. Let's see. Hussein Capers, if I'm pronouncing that right, says, show me a perfect AD, and I will show you one that is not. It's fair. It's fair. Darlene, I think it is very appropriate to be sad to see him go. I should have said this at the start. I think anytime someone leaves Auburn, it is most of the time, 99% of the time, it is a sad affair. Thinking about situations such as Sonny Galloway, and that was a very toxic relationship. I think the majority of the time, it is a sad occasion when someone leaves Auburn, because it creates change, it creates turmoil, it creates questions, and yeah, it is sad. I am sad to see Allen Greene go, because he has really grown on me in his time. I was not a fan. He made some decisions, things that aren't even important in the grand scheme of things, that I didn't necessarily agree with. But just because I disagree with him doesn't mean I don't like him as a person, as our AD. We all have disagreements. I think he did a pretty bang up job during the time that he was here. Not perfect, but I am sad to see him go because of what it means for Auburn. Waiting on the Joseph Goodman hit piece. Oh man. I've done that enough. I need to stop being mean to people. People change jobs during the duration of a tenure. Everything might not be roses. That doesn't mean the sky is falling. Everything is okay. I also think that, Dusty, on the other side, though, and I love your perspective on this, buddy, but I also would say that, to play devil's advocate for the other side that is very worried and very concerned about this, that, it is always a cause for concern. But we can't go way over here and then way over here all the time. Yes, I know that many others have already put out their hit pieces. I wouldn't call them hit pieces. I would just call them read between the line pieces is all you have to do. Let's see here. I am way behind in chat. I am sorry about this. Auburn is officially a bass fishing school. Wait, but did you miss that we were already a bass fishing school? We're an everything school. We got this. Great question, Ron. And we can come back and forth to all of these things, because I don't want to get too far behind in chat, because this is what our shows are all about, you guys, and reactions. Who would you like to have for this job? Really early conversations. Here's what I'm going to tell you who I think that you're going to hear in conversations. You've already seen people write about it. Tim Jackson, who's part of the board, I believe, right now. That's going to be one that really gets people upset. But I think, again, don't be overreacting there. I think you're going to see, I think her name is Michelle McKenna. She was in the running last time around, has a lot of NFL corporate ties, I believe. That's who I think that's two names you're going to hear. I'm going to tell you, and most of you have seen me post this on my personal account on social media, who I am advocating for. Quentin Riggins. It is time to make this man AD if he wants the job. Quentin Riggins is a former player. He is a guy that was heavily involved with student affairs while he was a student, but after, when he was working as a commentator with the Auburn radio broadcast team. He is also very involved in the business world. I believe he started a couple of businesses, is on the boards. So when you think about this, an athletic director needs to have experience with sports. Check number one. An athletic director needs to have experience with students, not just, yes, you're mainly there for your athletic students, but you got to have some type of draw, reality, focus with that. Done. Reason number three, or check mark number three, you got to be able to raise money. And Allen was really good at that. You got to be able to get into the business. You got to be able to manage a department that has money and be able to convince boosters to spend that money. Quentin Riggins is the man for the job. He probably won't get it, because I don't even know if he wants it, but that I will scream that loud and proud. Give me Quentin Riggins. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go all the way up to the top of the chat, just so we don't get so far behind. And then we will, if there's a question or a thought process that you really, really want heard that I kind of skipped past there, please bring it up to the front again, and we'll try to stay on track here. Senator Tommy Tuberville. I love myself some Tommy T. I think he is much more needed in other places than that. If we're gonna do an Auburn guy, which I think we should, because that's just how I think, or lady, I want someone that's been there with us or not been there previously, like as in a coach. A player like Quentin Riggins, who has spent a lot of time away from that, I think would be a much better option. Yeah, Devin, unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of commentary again, reading between the lines, that is very disingenuous and unproductive to the conversation. So there's a lot of that going on, unfortunately. Let's see. Hire Takeo Spikes. I don't know about that, man. I love that dude doing what he's doing now, but I don't know if I want Spikes there. He spent, listen, 15 years, but remember, it is a football focused program, athletic department, but you got to be all encompassing. And that's what Q does. I think Quentin Riggins is the best. Absolutely best. Sir Charles, I think he is accomplishing a lot of good things for Auburn outside of what he's doing. I think Charles, there's a lot of people that have found their lane, and I don't mean this in a rude way, but they need to stay in it. I think Charles is one of them. I think Takeo's finding that lane, and I think Tommy Tuberville has found that lane. I think everybody's basically found their lane, but I could really see a guy like Quentin Riggins stepping into that roles. Dusty, I'm with you there, man. I saw that was a little later comment. Negativity comes with this stuff, man. You gotta, and we've got to really know how to project, not Pollyanna, not sunshine pumping, but true concept, reality-based optimism onto the situation. Trevor, I see your note about our 4-star wide receiver. Yes, I have done a video today about that, so go check that out if you haven't. We're not going to be talking about that today. We're sticking with what the title says. Tim Hudson, he's got bigger fish to fry, right? Well, not bigger fish, but he's got himself a new gig, so he is all tied up at the moment. Robert, I'm always curious by this. What do you mean by get NIL going? I hear these statements a lot. I'm not trying to pick on you, Robert, but what does that mean? Because it's going, but just because you don't see the fruits of that doesn't mean it's not going. I'm always interested by that. I think Allen, in terms of getting us up and running with compliance with NIL, I think they did a bang-up job. They brought in some really great guys. I mean, people forget that a lot of the hires that Coach Harsin made for his staff, including the Dallas Cowboy guys, Drew Fabianchi, I think I can't pronounce his last name. Allen's got to sign off on those. He's got to do his research on those. He had a hand in bringing them here, and that's going to be a really big one that people forget a lot. So yeah, he really, really has done a lot of good things in terms of people forgot about it, in terms of what they brought in. Not sure why my comments keep disappearing. I have no clue either, sir. Sometimes I think if you like type too many, it can like put you on timeout or something like that. I'm not doing anything on my end. You guys saw last live stream what happens, what will get you banned or get you blocked. So that is definitely not something that you're doing right now, Neil. So I don't know what's going on there. He says, obviously it's not going good enough. Why obviously? I need concrete proof for that. Trevor, we've been talking a little bit about that it jeopardizes his job. Obviously, when the guy who hired you is gone, that's a little bit scary for you, right? I can't imagine what that means for him, but to not be cliche here, but to quote Coach Harsin, all you can worry about is being 1-0. 1-0. Just focus on what's in front of you today. That's all you need to focus on. And I think that's what Coach Harsin is going to preach and live out. Let the chips fall where they may. Because again, I don't think, and I know you probably weren't here earlier, I don't think Allen Greene being here this year would have protected him in the event they were going to try to fire him. Those chips have been used. That is just my speculation and my opinion. I agree, Dusty. I think that NIL is definitely kind of, in terms of money, involvement, organization, is really starting to pick up steam for Auburn here, and people are just starting to see. People have this idea in their head that NIL is not doing what they want it to do, but they can't tell you exactly what they want it to do. And I'm not trying to pick on y'all that have had that opinion, but there's just a lot of these blanket statements. I want us as Auburn fans to be critical thinkers and not just be the typical online people in their mama's basement going, don't be that way. I don't like those people. People are not fun to be around. I think NIL is done incorrectly by a lot of programs. You can bet it is. It was not set up to pay for play, but that is what is happening. Absolutely. Every program is cheating on some level. It's just who figures out how to not get caught or just barely get over the line. Just barely. All right. Keep your comments and questions coming. So we've talked about, obviously, early reaction to the news, being shocked about it in terms of just it happening today and stuff like that. But a lot of us saw this coming. Let me talk about it from this angle too for Allen, because we kind of got more into what's next, and we do want to continue to talk about that. But based off my understanding, what I hear, a lot of you hear, and was told, Allen has always had aspirations to be an athletic director at higher institutions of learning. I guess you think Ivy League and stuff like that. And that's not just Allen. That's a lot of athletic directors. Like, they want to be at the big, big things. And that's kind of some of the things that I heard. So maybe he anticipates a job opening up, and maybe that's why this is happening, alongside not being re-signed. I think you also think about this too when we talk about implications for Harsin. Would you rather resign now where everything's fine, we're just about to start the season, or resign at the end of a tumultuous, potentially, football season? I don't think it's going to be tumultuous, but there's always that chance. Would you rather resign then or resign now if you knew there was not a guarantee? I think that was a smart decision on his part. Robert says, no cheating anymore. Keep up. You just pay them. Robert, if you think there's no cheating anymore, I got some land in a bayou I can sell you. Because cheating always happens. Just because there's this blanket term NIL out there doesn't mean that cheating still doesn't go on. It absolutely does, and it will continue. Everybody will continue to push the boundaries of what the rules are. It's not as simple as you just pay them. That is not how it works whatsoever. I can guarantee you on that. Neil says, I wasn't shocked by the news, just sick and tired of drama. And I get that. Like, there's a part of me, Neil, that's kind of there with you, that I wanted us to kind of reset and not continue to have negative stories. But let me submit this to you. The negativity is only as much as we allow it to be, to some degree. How we choose to speak about it online, how I choose to speak about it here, I hold myself accountable, only contributes to that narrative. But if we continue to talk about it in reality concepts, about what Allen wants in his future, what Auburn wants in their future, and just say it's a business decision, like a lot of these recruits say. It's ironic they say that, isn't it? It makes a lot of sense. It may be a little shocking about today, but I think given time, we'll all sit back and say, you know what? I think this was the best. We walk away happy with each other. No one who is being reasonable is upset with what Allen Greene has done. A lot of people wanted Gus fired. He did that for you and brought you in someone else. Maybe he's not the one that you wanted, but that's what you get. If you ask for something, you can't always get exactly what you want. A lot of people wanted, and I agree, Bruce Pearl signed to a lifetime contract. Did that. A lot of people wanted the volleyball coach gotten rid of or resigned. That happened too. New coach Eric Crouch is about to compete here in like 30 minutes. Their second game of the season. But yeah. Let's see here. What we got going on here? I'm trying to catch back up and Again, for those of you asking about the wide receiver recruit, there's a video about that out today. We're not going to be discussing that here because obviously it's not part of the title. Kyle, who did the boosters want after Gus was fired? I don't know because I don't know any boosters, and I don't subscribe to narratives that are concocted online. Frankly, I'm not trying to be. I know that sounded kind of rude, Neil, but I'm not trying to be rude. Like, that's just who they want. That's all speculation. Nobody can prove that. But the narrative was that they wanted Kevin Steele, which ironically I would have been okay with. Ooh, a lot of people got mad when I said that. Let's see. Big Simp in the house. Good to see you, man. Been missing you a lot on the live streams. I'd love to see you some more. Good to hear from you. Love Auburn. I'm sick, but I'm also sick of Auburn. Hey, that is the nature of being an Auburn fan. It is a roller coaster ride, and you are not meant to be here if you are weak of heart, of stomach, of bowels. As gross as that sounds, you need to have a tough skin if you're going to be an Auburn fan for a variety of reasons to ride this up and down roller coaster that it is. And I love it because I love being an Auburn Tiger. And I'm seeing a lot of you talking about just being tired of the drama. And I think that's a very fair place to be. I think that's an honest reaction. If you're at the place where you're like, you know what, I'm very sad about losing out, or I'm not sad about losing out, but really for me, it's just about things happening to be used against us. I can empathize with that. And I get that. I really, really do. I think that's a very fair place to be coming from, as long as we don't take it out on different factions within the Auburn family or outside of that. I mean, there are people that are trying to continue a narrative because it gets clicks, it gets reads, it gets website visits. It's not just Auburn stuff, it's news in general. The best way to get you to click is to get you mad, because you want to go find out what other people are saying so you can have something to lash out. Just keep that in mind with all this kind of stuff. All right, still some recruiting talk. I'm gonna let y'all handle that in there, and y'all can watch the video on that. All right, back to kind of just square one here. Talked about the shock of it. What's Allen's role in all this in terms of what he wanted? And I think that he probably ultimately someday wanted to leave Auburn. It's just my own opinion based on some things I heard and stuff like that, which is fine. I think the Auburn, I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it, powers that be, the boosters, the board of trustees really, felt it was probably in their best interest long-term to move on, whether you agreed that or not. And I really think that while the timing seems a little odd, a little bit surprising for a lot of people, it is something that we will walk away from realizing probably was the best for all parties involved. I absolutely hate when people say, if X happens, I'm done, never with Auburn, just to go watch. I guess what you're saying, you hate when people say they'll never watch anymore. Yeah, that's just it's a normal line of thinking that people want. Just like media, typical media wants you to react to something, people that post those type of things just want you to hit like so they can get that little endorphin rush. I've been susceptible to it too. Just to, we all have. We're all imperfect and we all make mistakes. All right, we're not done just yet, but we've kind of covered a lot. So I don't want to keep just rehashing, but I want to get more to your comments and questions if you have some more on this particular topic. So keep that coming. Let me remind you of a couple things here. I am going to Auburn tomorrow for the open practice and fan day. I will be there. My hope is to give you some sort of live stream from the pep rally that will be there, and also one after the practice. I can't guarantee when and how that will happen, so you need to be subscribed, notification bell for that. And I'm sure we'll probably hear more things about all this situation to talk about on those live streams as well. I will also be going to Auburn the next weekend, things like that. Normal schedule remains this week. We have Wednesday night live stream. This Thursday, we also have a live stream at 8 p.m. Most live streams are going to be at 8 p.m. on the typical day. when we have them, Wednesdays and Thursdays especially, and probably Mondays when we get a game to review. But Wednesday and Thursday 8 p.m. shows, don't miss them. AD from Wake Forest is good. I'd like to see him hired. Which one was the one that put us on blast? Was that him or was that the Duke one? I can't remember. I can't tell if you're being funny or if that's a legitimate one. I'm sorry. I don't know how. I'm going to just call you Carter. Lusuis. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. My Alabama is coming out in my accent. Y'all should be tired of going through this nonsense every year. Admin boosters destroying our program. The needle still ain't moving. Well, that's fine. I mean, you are obviously entitled not to watch things. I don't believe it for a second, to be frank with you. But you might do it for a little while. But I don't believe that for a second. If you can stop cold turkey and maintain that the rest of your life, I don't know that Auburn meant that much to you. Just being honest. I'm not trying to be mean, but I think that's the reality of it. Which may be a great thing, because some people would argue you care too much about Auburn. Probably a fair point. It's probably a fair point. Why other schools use our own stupidity against us? We let everyone in the door because no one is ever on the same page at Auburn. Big Sam, come on now. I don't think you have to worry about Kevin Steele. I don't think it means that everybody is not on the same page. I think the problem or thing going on is not necessarily a problem, is everybody's on the same page that this wasn't going to work out long term. It was best to move forward. It was just a question of when. But people are going to use this against you. It's just the nature of the thing. And I would argue that if schools and programs aren't using it against us, then they're not doing their jobs. Neil, what is going on? I have no clue, sir, why your comments keep getting deleted. I have no. Yeah, they say you can see your comments. Well, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know what's going on there. We've seen a ton of them. Anyway, that's weird. That's what happens sometimes in YouTube. You never know what they'll start doing to you. The university has put the program in a spot negatively, and the media has ran with it. Stop shooting, I guess you meant, self in the foot, point blank. The university has put the program in a spot negatively. I would agree with that in terms of making the decision to fire a head coach in the middle of a COVID year, or at the end of a COVID year, still in the middle of what was going on. That it's not where you thought I'd go with that. Yes, I agree with that. It has nothing to do with Coach Harsin. I think that put us in a bad spot, considering what was going on at the time. But where are we now? We can only work with what the hand that we're dealt at this point. So the decisions that are being made, they kept Harsin despite all of the stuff that went on. Maybe Allen had a huge hand in that. The media is going to run with whatever they think that sells, and negativity sells. They will find it if they want it. Error, try again. Well, that is really weird. I don't know why your comments are deleting, because we can see a ton of them. Y'all see hey, no, I think it has something to do with Duke and AD. There's words that are flagged for weird reasons these days. But yeah, I didn't know Tennessee's. Here's the thing: is I'm just trying to not care and worry about what other universities thinks, because they're just jumping on this because that's what they're supposed to do. All right, let's see if we've got any new and fresh comments. Yeah, I don't know, Neil, why it would do that to you, but it's weird sometimes. There was another live stream that we had not too in the distant past where there was a weird phrase that got flagged and nobody could post it, and it kept getting them deleted and deleted. It's weird. You ever see that happening? You'll know if I ban you or something like that. All right. A lot of the you can get some last minute comments and questions in. I think we've hit a lot of what we wanted to talk about, though. Point blank, I'm going to miss Allen Greene. I truly mean that, because he grew on me as an athletic director. Not that I would disagreed with him being hired at all, but it was not one of the hires that I wanted. I'm a big fan of Quentin Riggins. I wanted him last time we needed an AD, and I want him again. So Allen Greene, I'm going to miss you. I think Allen Greene did a lot of great things for Auburn. Signing Bruce Pearl, bringing in Bryan Harsin, and hopefully that we see the fruits of that coming out this year. He got a lot of other programs continuing their success, restarted, did a lot of fundraising, getting us off the ground and running with NIL, despite what I think a lot of you are saying that you think it's not in a great place right now. I think a lot of people aren't aware of how much work has been put in by him. And I can see the fruits of that labor by the people he's put in certain roles, the people he's hired. I think he's done a real good job. And I think Neil brings up a great point. Allen Greene is a very classy individual. You know, I never got the opportunity, and I regret it now, to meet Allen Greene, but I had the opportunity. It was last year at the first softball game. It was literally the day that Harsin got cleared on everything. And I knew that man. He came up and just stood literally just right beside me, kind of a little bit back behind me, watching the game when we were both standing there. And I kept meaning to look over and shake his hand and introduce myself. And I just felt bad because he was still checking his phone, you know, like you could tell he had a lot going on, but still trying to support the Auburn ladies. That man supported every single Auburn program, every single one of them. And as a baseball guy, that a lot of people weren't aware that he was a baseball guy. You can't think of a better time to have been the AD at Auburn when the program is where it's at as a baseball, and helped maintain that. He's helped get us to the point where we can make these renovations too. So please keep that in mind when you think about Allen Greene. And if you're okay with this being the result of all this, him leaving, just be thankful that we had him in the great things that he did. He's not perfect. I think there are a lot of things that I would have done differently if I was him, but I think he did a lot of great things. All right. With that being said, folks, I think we've covered every single angle that we can on this. I appreciate all of you hopping on this live stream, an impromptu one. I understand that. So stay tuned tomorrow on social media. I will be on campus for the fan day, barring unforeseen circumstances, and the open practice. So look for live streams and content on social media. I hope you guys will just take a step back, breathe, and realize that everything's going to be all right. I promise. I promise it's going to be all right. With that being said, thank y'all for being here. Smash that like button on the way out. And until I talk to you again, Warriors.